Dan Hally, Sidney Resources, July 15th. Just want to give everybody kind of an operational overview of what's planned. As you can see, a lot has changed up here. We got a lot of cons still stored, a lot of different stuff. We're moving a lot of stuff around. So what we're doing is a lot of excavation work. You can see in the back, I'll kind of work my way back there. We're leveling a lot of ground, and that is where a 3,600 square foot clear span building is going to go. That will house the new 50 ton per day mill, so we can ramp up. So the first phase, we're going to get all the excavation work and get it prepped, and then we're going to be bringing in 230 eco blocks. It's too hard to pour concrete up here, so the foundation is going to be eco blocks. Right now, because of the road conditions and the slow permitting processes with the Forest Service due to their staff layoffs, staff shortages, and everything else that's going on, we're going to be flying in the eco blocks, getting quotes from a couple different helicopter services. They can fly those in. Each block is about 4,000 pounds. So they'll fly them in 2 at a time, but they can do it in 10 hours instead of what would take us probably 3 weeks, pulling them up with a cat on a trailer. So when you do the economics and the efficiency, that's the route that we're going to go. A lot of planning going on. So the 3,600 square foot building is going to handle the new milling equipment. So that's going to include jaw crushers, impact crushers, re-crushers, the rollers, a jig, spirals, 3 dicer tables, slurry pumps, the whole piece. It'll be fully highly efficient gravity system so that we can get the cuts that we need. We can separate the rare earths. But what we're going to be doing, what's really exciting, as long as we've been working to determine the metallurgy for separations of the platinum group metals, which we have in multi-ounce, as well as the gold and the silver, the rare earths and all that, we know we have to get this moving into a revenue. So we're going to continue that testing process, but ramp it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back underground. What we know now is that when we drove the drift previously and we got to within about 50 feet, 35 to 50 feet of the first stope that was mined around 1862, so we're 258 feet below that is where we're at. And Steve Dobson's been doing a lot of testing on the material, and what we're seeing is free gold and coarse gold. And we're also seeing that it is not contaminated with the PGMs. And here in a little bit, I'll do an addition to this video that explains the geology here. So there's a lot going on. We had geologists here from the University of Alaska Fairbanks doing an initial assessment. So we have a lot better understanding. There's 2 options of how the platinum group metals are here, what caused them, and I'll explain those in greater detail. But so we're going to go back underground, and I'll give you a lot more information in the next segment. So I'll put together a whole video on operational planning so everybody can really understand where we're going, what we're doing, and how we're going to proceed. So I just wanted to show you this area. That's where the new facility will be. The tailings impoundment is going to be up here. We started some initial work there. We did some testing here, just taking a look at soils and compaction. And one of the things that we found, which is interesting, the Little Giant vein, you can see it's kind of an off color. It's to the right. Then there's another vein That's to the left. And I'll go down here and I'll explain those in just a minute. But a lot going on, a lot of work in progress. We've got additional crew members here. We're just going a lot of work because our goal is to have this new building up. The building's been purchased. It's being manufactured. It's a prefab clear span building and it's on its way. So once that's here, we've got the eco blocks coming, but we want this fully operational and completely up to MSHA standards for this facility by the end of October, mid-November. That's what we're really pushing for. We got to beat the snow. So we know it. We're working hard. We're spending a lot of time up here. One of the nice pieces to this building design is that it's going to allow us to store ore inside the building. The building will be heated, and it's going to be heated with electricity, so we'll have generators up here. But one of the challenges we've had the last 2 winters as we've run test mill through the winters is the ore stored outside, and we knew it was going to be an issue, but we didn't know how to overcome it with the facilities that we have, is the ore freezes. And when you introduce frozen ore to a water-based gravity system, you get a big frozen slurry, and it really slows things down. Slows the ball mill down. So we know that, so we'll be able to keep ore stored inside and heated. Our plan is to run at least 20 days a month. The other time will be downtime and just resupply and different things like that. We'll push for more, but that's a minimum that we want to run at. But I'll give a lot more information on what we know about the stope and what we've seen so far. But this is just the first segment in several videos that I'll put together for you. Because I want everybody to have a very clear understanding of the path forward and how we're going to keep moving things going and growing operations here and get to that revenue piece. The other little piece I'll point out here is, I know some of you, we've talked about a spiral decline. As we move towards that, instead of the spiral decline being where the current portal is, that's a steep, difficult area to work in, the spiral decline access will be over here just down on the hillside. So all this will be on private land, which is a huge piece. The spiral decline will go at depth, and it'll have it actually on just this vein alone will give us an estimated 8 intercepts. And then we can cross cut into these multiple veins that we know are over just to the east, kind of southeast, which is a big piece. And we found a new vein just in here. And this vein is 8 feet wide. We don't know what it is. It hasn't been tested. We're going to be doing some additional sampling, but I'll take one more picture of it. So it's a little giant vein. You can see, I'll zoom in. That's the little giant vein right down in there. This is the new vein. That's 8 feet wide. So we'll get that tested, but it looks good. A lot of mineralization, really good looking. But we found these throughout on the other side of this mountain over here during some earlier exploration, just between the little giant vein and the Arlees. We had found at the surface through outcrops 3 additional, and I think that 8-footer is one of them that we've seen. So we may have a lot of intercepts that we're working, but one of the key pieces here too is you don't have to move a lot of earth here. You know, we get a lot of focus on the more tons per day, more tons per day, more tons per day, more tons per day. That's not the key to the Warren District, because the more tons you add to the day that you're running, the greater your power demands are. The greater power your demands are, the more fuel that you have to burn. So as we understand these and as we see truly what's here and the ounces per ton that we can recover and all those things come into play, that's when we really be evaluating the larger mills. Because it's not about large. You know, we talk originally a 450 ton a day mill. Well, we have to break that down. What are the fuel needs? What are those components? What can we recover? Because if we can recover high ounces per ton, we don't need a 450 ton a day per mill, because just that alone is an enormous diesel need, particularly in the winter, because you can't get fuel deliveries. So those are all the things that we're balancing. We're being strategic. And one of the pieces is, as we talk about one thing, mining is fluid. You know, I hear a lot, you know, well, you said this or this was said. Mining's fluid. And that's a point we want people to understand. We're not going to stick to something that's not the best path forward, because we're going to go with what's smart. We're going to be agile. We're going to be adaptive. And we're going to figure out what is the best way. I think we already know what is the best way to mine this district and to mine this deposit. So we'll have a lot to share and a lot to learn. And like I said, this is just the first of many videos. So Dan Hally signing off.
What do we always say, Steve, about this? We got what? We got gold, baby. We got gold.